All right, welcome to Manitoba Music. This is part of our DIY series. We're going to talk about becoming export ready. So basically when it's time to move on from your home country, your hometown, and what industry people are looking for, what it takes. So we have this amazing panel of industry professionals from all walks of the industry itself and from different countries. So I'm going to go down the line and I'm going to get each one of you to introduce yourselves, to introduce your company. And if you could just give us like a really sort of brief overview of how you ended up in that position, because that's always a very interesting story and really good for our artists and aspiring industry professionals to hear. So Danny, I would like to start with you.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from Germany, and I act as a booking agent in Europe nowadays. Started working in music like in the early 90s, I think, as a stagehand. And before that, I was like active in this punk rock scene, playing music on my own with some friends. So yeah, it's everything I did ever since I'm a kid. Actually, is hanging out at venues and taking care of bands, and so I ended up as a booking agent.
Awesome. All right, next.
Hey, I'm Alastair. I run a management company called Heartstop Music in Melbourne, Australia, and we work with the weather station here from Canada, Julia, Jacqueline, Marlon Williams, and the band of Julia's called Fantastic Furniture. And I got started sort of playing often covers gigs, popular music in pubs, and running open mic nights, and just gradually focusing more and more on individual artists and wanting to really sort of focus in on their careers and trying to take it from something that they did maybe on a smaller level or where they were talented and were doing it locally and turning it into kind of a global career. So that's sort of what I've been going about with those group of acts and what I'm going to look to keep doing. So.
Hi, I'm Clemence from Bird on the Wire. We're a promotions company in London, in the UK. I'm French, though, as you can probably hear. And we look after a lot of Canadian bands or artists like Mike DeMarco, Destroyer, Soons, The Weather Station, actually. And a few more as well, like The War on Drugs and Big Thief and many great acts. And I guess the reason I got into this was, just through a passion for music, going to gigs all the time, and had a really good friend, and we just were like, let's do something together, let's just start putting on some shows, and that's what we did 9 years ago, and now we're here. So yeah.
My name is Caroline, and I am from Los Angeles, and I work at a company called Clarion Media. We do PR for festivals and artists, bands, some brands all throughout mostly U.S., but we do have some Canadian, UK artists that we work with as well. I've been doing this way too long. I've been doing this for almost 14 years. I started playing music and writing about music, and I was interning at a radio promo company, and they did not offer PR, and they were like, a lot of editors from writing, how about you try PR? And I said, are you offering me a job? Okay, let's do it. So that's pretty much how I kind of fell into it. So yeah.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark, I'm from Paris. I started at the age of 21 years old with a drama school, so basically I'm an actor. Then I have been discovered in a club in Paris by a dancer. She was dancing, she was beautiful, she was blonde, and she asked me if I was a dancer. I said yes, I lied. I was not a dancer, but I guessed that I had an opportunity to take, and I took it, and then I started to dance on TV shows during 12 years with great French singers. It was amazing. So music was always part of my life. I was playing piano and guitar in my bedroom alone. I was writing lyrics, but it was just for myself and my mother. And she was saying to me all the time, my son, one day you will just have to take off the songs of your bedroom, of your bedroom, and you will give them to great singers, and they will sing your songs. And finally, that's what happened 2 years ago. I signed a contract with 2 publisher companies, Bukowski Publishing and Ticton Music in Paris. And now I have the great luck and chance to write for singers as Claudio Capeo, Oshi, Tina Arena, who's Australian, Ben L'Oncle Soul, they're French singers. And I live of my music. I'm so grateful about that. And so I'm happy to be here and to exchange that with Canadian people, Canadian artists. Thanks for welcoming me in your country.
Our pleasure. Thank you for introducing yourselves. So we have quite the mix of people here, and it's actually great to have Mark on this panel as well from an artist perspective. I always find that's really helpful to the artists in the group. So we just wanted to sort of talk about what it is that you as industry professionals look for when it comes to working with somebody from outside your country, and what that takes to really gain that interest, and what you need that artist to have already ready before you can sort of implement them into your own market. So if you have, I guess I'll start with what an artist should have already done, let's say at home, for it to even sort of perk your interest at all.
On the PR side of things, I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot that artists can be doing, even in their, home country, in terms of before they need to hire a publicist. I think that, everyone's like, oh, I need a publicist, like they're gonna, break me, and I don't necessarily think that that's always the case. I think that you really need to bring something to the table, whether it's in your home country or, internationally, where it's like you need to be touring. I think is really important, especially if you're coming to, the US or coming to someone like us, that you just need to be able to sell a certain number of tickets, because we need to also make it worth our while, just because press doesn't sell everything. So I think that really establishing, who you are and making it so like, hey, like we can sell 150 tickets in our hometown, and this is why you should look to us, or we can sell 100, 200 tickets, something like that. I think, having some decent press pickup in your home country is always really helpful, because it's something that we can send out to other audiences. If you have some radio play, that's great. CBC, anything, I think that just showing that you're willing to do the work is also really important, where it's like you're not just dependent upon a publicist to do it, where it's like you're active on social media, you're getting your fans engaged, you're willing to, do ads or anything like that to help spread the word, because I think working as a team is really important, especially for developing artists, especially when you're coming to the US where you might be an unknown, and also I think if you have friends that are in larger bands, like don't be afraid to kind of tap into your contacts as well. I feel like a lot of bands are kind of afraid to sell themselves, and I think at the end of the day, you're definitely your best advocate, and I think that you need to be willing to talk yourself up. Which I know it's a little bit weird, because it's like some people are like, I don't know about that, but I think that you really need to be, tapping into the contacts that and if you have friends that have played shows in like LA, or if you have friends in, New York or other major markets, like ask your friends, where did you play? What was their experience? And I think, talking to other people and kind of like working within your network is always really helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say from a live perspective, that's really interesting. Really trying to get a few good support tours with people that you think, well, that might be friends or people that you just reach out to because you feel a certain artistic connection with them. I guess it's always worth really reaching out and just taking the chance. And that's really something, I mean, if it's an artist that resonates with people abroad, then it's something that you can really put forward when you try to get to play in other countries. Is just saying, well, I've been on this tour in Canada with this or that artist, and that really helps. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, like I manage 2 bands, and we're always getting even like, hey, I'm coming through your town, and it's like we sound similar, are you available on this date? Like, we have the venue, would you be willing to play? So I think making sure that what you're doing fits. So if there's like artists that you like in certain markets that are similar, like, don't hesitate to reach out to them, because, I work with a lot of like developing artists that don't have agents, and it's like, you need to, put that hustle in and figure out what makes sense. So I think, it's like definitely kind of knowing where you fit in is really important.
Yeah, I also think like if you made it to whatever Europe and you're there, it's not just a 60 minutes on stage. It's a 24 hours job. You have to network. You have to take every chance to meet people. And if you've got the chance to stay at private places, stay there, talk to people, make friends, And you always see those people twice, and you always come back if you stay in your band, Because I met so many bands that came over, and then they had a jet lag, and they played their 5 shows, and then it was over. And oops, we missed so many chances, So it was like, perhaps try to come 2 days before your shows come. Try to be awake when you're there, This is pretty important, I think.
That's really good advice. I actually have another question for you from an agent perspective, just based on what they were saying about touring and reaching out to bigger bands that could sort of put you on the bill. I know that often as a green artist or one that is emerging, when they're trying to link up with a band that has an agent who's at that level, often they say, well, I have to talk to my agent. And I know that often agents will pair up their own acts together. So for you, what's a way that a green artist could get your attention if they really want to get on a tour or a support slot? Is that possible?
Yes, for sure it's possible. So if the music is outstanding and there's something special, for sure. So for sure, if the band has already a different agent and there's nothing it could be interesting for me, it's perhaps not that good. But if it's a green artist, there's a chance, definitely.
Okay. Do you have any like special tips for how you can be approached in that sort of situation? Because I know it's very daunting for artists to reach out to an agent when they're sort of unknown.
You should have your shit together. You should have your rider. You should have your, you shouldn't go on the nerves. It should be annoying to have contact with you. You should be fast if the agent comes back, and if you're there and if you meet the people, always make sure that everybody in your band knows what's happening. So that's not just the guitar player who arranged this, and the singer thinks he's a star, and the bass player doesn't know anything, and it's like, be aware of what you're doing. You're touring as a support band. Okay, this is be nice, be polite. Be away when you have to be away.
And check your emails regularly. Yeah. You were going to say something as well there.
I think as a manager, it's such an interesting thing. I guess that question of like, how do I get someone to come on board as a manager, or how do I get that support? And it's something I think about so much. And I work with so few acts for something that is like my full-time job. So most acts I'm not working with that I come across, and I think my experience with my artist Julia Jacqueline's a good example to sort of work from, where I met her and she had very little going on, but at that point I, as a manager, kind of had the general global landscape of how you go from nothing to something, and all the like her complete lack of a business setup or any kind of previous history, like, really didn't bother me. And so none of that really mattered. All that really mattered to me was, when I met her, was the songs and like her voice and what was special about her as a musician and songwriter. And then her as a person, she had a quality to her that was really intriguing, and there was a sense that she was ambitious and focused, and that she was like going to do this. And the rest of it, I was kind of like, we'll work it out. Like, I kind of know how to go and create that. But this person